Recovery is a very complex term. A lot of people think it's just straightforward, but it's different for different people. For me, I am recovering. Things are getting better. But you can't really explain properly what recovery is. It's very difficult. Today I've been given my recovery journal to basically reflect on how I feel. I'm hoping it will enable people to see what it's like to have a mental health condition. I don't like the fact that all my books were getting wet.
No, that is...
Especially library books.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be getting those wet.
They'll probably cry. Well, when I was a child, I started having therapy in cans, but no one seemed to know what was wrong with me until I was about 18. And I ended up in a psychiatric unit, and they turned around and said, "You got a personality disorder." Basically, part of my personality is not fully developed. So some way, some people would compare me with a child sometimes. When children don't get what they want, they throw temper tantrums, things like that. When I struggle, I don't throw temper tantrums, but I can lose my temper a bit. Basically, I couldn't cope with the outside world. I just couldn't cope. I kept going in and out of hospital all the time, and people weren't really listening.
Alright, I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, Tracy's going to ring me, ain't she?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
I knew about statistics before I became unwell, and I used to think, oh yeah, that's what's her name, you know, the one that just, you know, never gets out of bed and just can't, you know, for some reason just can't get herself together, until it turned out to be me. It's me and my mum. I really like this picture. It's my favourite picture of me and my mum. That was taken in early 2016. This is the worst picture. This was me when I was in hospital, but I was on overnight leave with my mum. So I had to be supervised by my mum on overnight leave at my house. And we took a picture because it was my first night away from being in hospital. When, I think it was the end of March, me and my boyfriend were having an argument, and I got very suicidal and I knew I needed help. So I tried to ring my dad. My dad didn't pick up, so I rang an ambulance. And I didn't know if that was what the right thing to do. I had no idea. I've never dealt with anything with mental health before, so it was really, you know, it was new. No. See, if there's nothing out there to support people with mental health illness, then they're just going to deteriorate, and it's going to get chronic. You know, they're going to have more relapses. Nothing's there to I don't know if this is the right word. Stimulate their mind, keep them busy. You know, keep them doing something, because that's usually something that helps mental health, is when you're busy doing something. Not too busy that you're stressed, but something to keep you going.
I'm good. How are you? Alright. Yeah? Yep. How was your graduation? It was good. It was a bit underwhelming, but I don't know what I expected really, so. Yeah, graduations are a funny one. Yeah, mine went by really quickly as well. I took art in school, but I never really knew that I loved to do it until I did it at GCSE, and then something kind of clicked and I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I must have been like 16, 15, and I kind of noticed that I'd feel sad like all the time, and whenever I'd feel happy, it didn't feel like happiness, and all these kind of cliche things that people say. And I noticed that it got kind of out of hand, where I went like 6 months kind of isolating myself from people, and I just moved into a new house then as well. I didn't have internet, so I didn't have like my phone, so I couldn't talk to my friends, and school was kind of getting on top of me, and I think that's kind of what not tipped me over the edge, but it started to click in that something's wrong, and then that was more like it'll get better, I'll get better, this will just go, it's a phase. But then I started getting like really bad thoughts about maybe like hurting myself or whatever, so that is when I was like, no, I need to like take a stand and get myself better because it's not good. I just noticed that I was stressed out 50% of the time, and then it went to like 90% of the time, and then I couldn't sit in class without having a panic attack or something. And then again, like I had to go through that whole process of something's wrong again, I need to see someone. But yeah, about the anxiety, I didn't really do much because I felt like I could cope with it, but then at the end of the day it ended up being the other way around. I could cope with the low mood, but I couldn't cope with being anxious, and yeah, so it brought me here, and it's been a fun ride.
You know, being at home alone was tormenting. Like, it was horrible. It was like, it was so empty, and so it made me feel very lonely. You know, there's people out there that don't have family and friends, and all they have is a place like this to come to socialise, to do something, to make an achievement of some kind. You know, even if it's something small, like knitting, like they do knitting here. It gets them out of the house. You know, who wants to be stuck in the same four walls all the time with nobody to talk to?
Hi, Kira. You ready for your second debut?
Yep.
Cool. Just take your handbag off.
When I was in a vaccine centre, I had a nurse there called Cindy. Lovely, lovely woman. She was my primary nurse. And I used to talk to her about 4 times a week. And she made me realise that I had problems, but all I needed to do was just talk to someone. And I began to trust her. And then I realised if she could do that, then maybe other people can help as well. So I started opening up to more people. And that's how I started getting better, because people actually started realising what was wrong. Everyone has someone somewhere that they can trust. If you're struggling to talk to someone, don't keep it to yourself, because you're just going to feel worse and worse and worse.
And it's that kind of practice what you preach type thing, so you can tell somebody a bit of like advice that you think would help them, but you need that advice as well. You just won't do it because it's hard. And that's what I went through quite a lot. Like, I gave people advice that I couldn't take because it was just too hard to try and put it into practice.
Drawing in the book.
But yeah, I think it's good what this like CBT stuff does, because it's not you making too much of an effort, it's just these little things that kind of catch you out, and you know how to identify them and how to learn why they make you feel the way you do.
While I was at the vaccine centre, I had therapy, and we had like art therapy and things like that. And it actually turns out that I'm now able to tell people, hang on a minute, I'm not in a good mood today. I don't like being painted with the same brush as everyone else. I'm not violent, I'm not a criminal, I've never been arrested, and I just do stuff. I'm like anyone else. I do courses, I want to get qualifications, I want to better myself, I want to get a job, I want to be like anyone else.
I just never saw a way out of it, and I never saw people getting better from it. I definitely never saw myself like getting better. Like, I have social anxiety and I still managed to get a job with it, and more so the job I got was with customer service, like retail type things. So I was literally paid for 4 hours to talk to people, which if you have social anxiety, that is like your biggest nightmare. But it doesn't mean that I immediately don't have it. It just means that I still do, but I managed to like pull through it and push through it.
So you told us some really exciting news just now. Do you want to tell me again?
Basically, I just went up to Go Train to see if they had my results for my literacy level 2 reading exam, and I've been informed that I passed it with 90%, and you only need 75% to pass. So
That is amazing.
I am now officially going to get a qualification level 2 literacy, which is equal to GCSE 8C pass grade.
Anybody could suffer with a mental health problem. You don't have to be a certain person to suffer with mental health. The person that you think suffers with mental health wasn't always like that. They were once normal or once just like everybody else. And if anyone's smart enough, they'll realise that anyway.